music down in the background. Oh, welcome to another edition of the Ominous Tower. Oh, toothpaste stuck to my cheek. There, rub that off. I don't want to look too foolish. Where are we going today? Well, you recognize that music in the background being that old time religion gospel tune. I didn't do any AI art for this one because one of my friends on X posted something that was just perfect for the background of the talk I was already planning to give today. So many thanks to that young lady from China who posted this and helped me put the final touches onto today's presentation. But where are we going today? Well, you'll recognize the scene behind me as a very odd church service, and that's what we're going to be talking about, is some very odd churches and churchmen. I'm going to call this one Antipope Soap. Give me that new age religion, it's good enough for she. One of the more amusing titles I think I've come up with for my podcasts. So we've just gotten through hearing about this whirlwind tour of the Pope Francis to the Far East, ministering to the few real Catholics left in this part of the world, and basically hobnobbing with a bunch of globalist assholes from other globalist corrupted religions. Now, those of you who don't know the history of Pope Francis and his ilk in Rome, one of their great achievements of recent decades is getting the Chinese Communist Party to acknowledge Catholicism with Chinese characteristics as the official Christianity of China. And this has been a big part of the CCP's bullshit, claiming that they are not intolerant of religion. They have an official version of Islam, which they keep active in a few fancy touristy mosques in Xinjiang, and persecute anybody who's actually worshiping Islam in the traditional way. This gives you a pretty good idea of what religion with Chinese characteristics is. Very strange looking Catholic church, isn't it? You have no place in front for a preacher or anything. You've got maybe an organ over here. I don't know where. I guess there's some sort of a presentation podium there, with a little slide projector and whatnot, so they can show specially doctored versions of the Jesus story, the Jesus. I think that's officially what they're supposed to call Jesus in China. While they look at these inspiring pictures of Xi and Mao around a red cross with the communist flag on one side, and who knows what these banners say, but I'm sure they are very, very noble Christian sentiments. And then a picture of probably some mountainscape in Guilin to show that this is really Chinese Christianity. Yeah, it's a complete farce. Okay? You can just look at this picture and find any number of blatant violations of the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt make no graven images. Celebrity false gods. that you worship, materialist gods, gods of this world. Okay, so what's our buddy Antipope Francis been up to? And yes, I call him Antipope. He is a satanic tool. Just like our buddy the Dalai Lama that I've talked about before, exposing his training by the Nazi Ahnenerbe during World War II, and his direct involvement in the birth of the CCP, the birth of communist China, and the cooking up of this anti-Western globalist narrative. And that's what's going on. That's what Francis was doing. Effectively, Francis was doing the exact same thing that Taylor Swift was doing when she was visiting Singapore recently, and other places in the Far East. These are evil people. They are part of a cult. It's a hive mind cult. It's a collection of hive minds that they use to control and manipulate people. And to one extent or another, the Catholic Church has always been about that. So Francis is just getting a little bit more New Age about it. Basically, it revolves around power. Okay? The Pope, being a good Catholic, wants to make everybody Catholic, and will do anything to do it, even make dirty deals with evil. And yes, the Chinese Communist Party is pure evil. They are persecuting people. They are disappearing people. They are genociding people. They are harvesting their organs. They are collaborating in black ops projects with the West, such as creating gain-of-function viruses to infect people with, and then have cures for their blessed ones. Cures that actually work, as opposed to the ones they give everybody else that give you these strange stringy clots that cause heart attacks. Yes, this is what is going on today. It's no conspiracy theory. You can go look it up for yourself. They don't even bother to hide their tracks anymore, folks. They want to depopulate this planet of all the useless people and turn the rest into mind-controlled slaves of Orwellian news propaganda. The mainstream media everywhere is corrupted and co-opted by this cabal, and it all leads back to Xi Jinping, who is, this is the point at which I've got to show you some things here. Let's first give kudos to my friend who posted this, Nate Chumia. You're one of my best friends on X, and you are a very blessed young lady, if you are indeed a young lady, as you are depicted there. Okay, well, let's see what else we can find here related to this topic. I'm not sure if I've shown you this before, but I didn't pull it up ahead of time. Let's see if you can still find it. Oh yes, you can still search for it on Google. Amazing. Maybe Google doesn't love China as much as we thought. Okay, here's something I'm going to show you. Actually goes back several years. The original poster is some guy from Nigeria. Very religious person. I'm just going to read it to you. The number one man in China, the beast. There are at least 4 signs that President Xi Jinping is the Antichrist, described in the book of Revelation. First, his name's English gematria value is 2 times 666. Second, he possesses characteristics of the beast in Revelation 13:2, like the mouth of a lion, feet of a bear, and power from the dragon. Third, the social credit system started by Xi in 2018 is very much like and on its way to the Antichrist mark of the beast system for buying and selling, as described by John the Revelator. Fourth, persecution of Christians in China is the worst it's been in more than a decade. True, despite the lovely pictures of so-called Christianity with Chinese characteristics. So let's look at the details. Base 6 numerical values of President Xi Jinping calculated with English gematria as follows. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of this. It's all basically tying together the various, the Winnie the Pooh association. You can find this and you can read it for yourself. I contributed some more thing. Of course, there were the usual responses to this that accusing the poster of being on drugs or being silly or stupid, or this is the classic gaslighting of the woke cult fake left. This is the problem with wrong doctrine. It makes you unnecessarily jittery. Oh, fuck you. Okay. Did they take away my No, more nonsense comments. Here we go. The sons of Lucifer and the spawn of Lilith have joined the beast of Beijing and the whores of Babylon to play a final round of whack-a-messiah upon the chosen species. The sons of God and daughters of Karma are not amused or bemused by their Pied Piper antics, and will no longer be leeks and lemmings for their slaughter. Neither Ides of March nor Ides of April will slay true Caesar's heirs, and though this Passover will see many sheepish beasts sacrificed upon the altars of Moloch and Belial, yet humanity's rising Messiah shall not be hindered from their missions, nor shall the real Messiah have incarnated in vain. I also posted this. The original poster missed some other clues, only quoting English gematria. In Hebrew gematria, President Xi Jinping is 1467. Adding the leading 1 plus 4 equals 567, which is 666 if you move 1 from 7 to 5. This is very common in trying to trace down these names and link them to gematria. Things are rarely in plain sight. In standard gematria, he is 222, 1/3 of 666, indicating he is the leader of 3 presidents who are in league with Antichrist. In addition to president being 660, 666 minus 2 3s, resident in Hebrew gematria is 333, showing that the other 2 presidents are more residents, part of ruling oligarchies rather than primary beasts, puppets of the Sith Lord. This well describes Putin and Biden, and pretty much all the presidents of the United States who didn't want to get assassinated, who clearly have a lot less power and influence than their positions would indicate, but are clearly acting to further the Great Reset agenda of the adversary. I'll be podcasting on this today if you are interested to learn some more, so you can look around that time for a podcast that talks about this. I've been talking about this for a while. Okay, so what are we to read from this? There is obviously a major conspiracy going on here. And there are trinities of evil, because the adversary uses the same patterns. Okay, so the number 3, the Trinity, is an important piece of the Christ story. It's also an important piece of all the Antichrist stories. They think they show up in threes. There's the Sith Lord, and then the predecessor representative and the successor representative. That matches the Messiah pattern of generational anointment, okay? Because it takes 3 generations to bring about an apocalypse. And the adversary has their idea of how an apocalypse is going to come out. And the adversary's idea of good is this species, this planet, gets reset, depopulated, and the remnant of humanity turned into mind-controlled zombies, ruled by a hierarchy of Satanists, basically. That's the way it used to be. That's the way they want to make it again. Now, there are spiritual Antichrist trinities. Obviously, Pope Francis is one of those. He's like represents the before generation, the entry generation of this apocalyptic time. The current generation, Antichrist, spiritual Antichrist, would be, I'm guessing, somebody like the Dalai Lama, this neo-Buddhist movement that has been spreading love and unity and everybody is good and one another. And I think it's becoming clear that whoever the third leg of the religious, the spiritual Antichrist movement is somebody very, very senior in the Muslim world. Probably not one of the ones that you would think. Okay, so your initial thoughts might say, well, it must be the Ayatollah. I don't think the Ayatollahs are that smart. And that's how Antichrist works. They always have front men. So that are going to take the fall for the real ultimate bad guy. Kind of the way it works for the American president Antichrist. Okay, there's a trinity there. There's a progression there. From Clinton to Obama to now Biden-Harris. Okay, passing the torch to another useful idiot to take credit for a plan that was set up a long time ago. Okay, this is the way the Antichrist works.
When Christ shall come,
the real Christ is a real bloodline. Real people born of real women and real men who in the first generation are basically chosen from many families that these sacred bloodlines are tracked in. It's basically the same families that are tracked all over the world by the Antichrist, by the Satanists, because they think that they're going to get the Messiah. They have an idea of who God is that is anti-God. And so they basically worship evil because they think tyranny is good if it's our tyranny. Okay? Most religions, most religious people, most highly ideological people of anti-religion, the uber-communists, the uber-capitalists, the dedicated materialist scientists, the dedicated Mother Nature worshippers, the Luddites that think it would be a fine thing if most of humanity died off so the good people could go back to living with nature. Okay, yeah, there are a lot of evil people that think like that and think they're the good guys. This is the woke cult, my friends. It's a globalist, communist cult. And it is a satanic cult. And they They are losing now. They are getting desperate because they're starting to realize that, oops, God isn't who we thought God was. And it's too late to change horses now. So they're doubling down and they're pushing every possible button they can to accelerate their apocalypse. But it's too late. It's too late because the real Messiah woke up a little bit early. It had been scheduled for the year that the age of Aquarius begins, 2025, by, well, at least modern calendar calculations. That stems from ancient events that coincide around the year 135 BC. This is when the Trinity of Jesus, who is not a real person, maybe was a real person, but didn't do all the stuff that's in the Bible, okay? That's an agglomeration of legends that was all stuffed together into this plastic Jesus bottle and doled out to various congregations to basically sell what is essentially 3 different religions, and still is today. Christianity is not one religion. Islam is not one religion. Buddhism is not one religion. Hinduism is not one religion. It's a bunch of them. At least 3, and usually more. Hinduism has so many friggin' gods you can't keep track of them all. Okay? This is part of a pattern. None of those religions is true. They have elements of truth. They have a kernel of remembrance of what this game is all about. But they all have fallen to the sin of pride, the sin of creating God in your image. This is, I mean, you know, the biggest lie in the whole Bible is that the Hebrews were the only chosen people. That's bullshit. Absolute trash bullshit. There have been many chosen people, many chosen species in the last 4.5 billion years. And many of those species are still roaming amongst us because a lot of the early ones were shapeshifters who were developed before the big reset 4.5 billion years ago. And as I was telling you yesterday, some of those shapeshifters hang out in Middle Earth. Some of them hang out in Inner Earth. And others of them hang out outside. The other planets, the sun, other stars, and star systems. Okay, and they are more or less open or hidden in their playing of this game based upon who they're playing for, how much they know. The ones that know the most about what's going on are the ones that have been saved in the inner earth. That's where we kept all the new gods that emerged in the latest run of this successful run of the simulation. Okay, because you can't let them out until you're done and you find, okay, wow, we converged on a new Messiah. We won't know that until certain signs show up. And the most important sign of the real Messiah arriving is that all of a sudden the physical universe gets bigger. Not just expanding from the Big Bang. No, but bigger, older than the Big Bang. And the latest data from the James Webb Space Telescope is indicating so far they've observed galaxies and black holes that people who do the physics of how galaxies and black holes emerge calculate are on the order of nearly 40 billion years old, which is, at this point, almost 4 times as old, well, at least 3 times as old as the Big Bang. Okay, and it's got the cosmological world in a great tizzy, trying to explain how this could be. The tired light theory is coming back that, oh, well, light, traveling so far for so long, it gets tired and it slows down. So it's not really going as fast, it's not really going at the speed of light. And that's what the redshift is from. And really, the universe is not that big. They'll come up with any sort of nonsense to deny God, to deny the simulation multiverse. You are in a simulation, but it's a simulation with a purpose. Why is it not just one universe? Because anybody who bothered to think about how a God would think would know that God is just one individual, has his own preferences, his own way of doing things, his own way he wants to run what he controls. And God doesn't control everything. God is not almighty, all omniscient, all anything. That's tyranny. There are other demigods who pretend to be God. And they're the ones that demand your worship, that want you to do all these slavish rituals, drink blood and eat flesh, kill others in the name of God, willfully violate the 10 Commandments because we're on God's side. It's these folks that led you into world wars and are leading you into another one now. They are not your friends. Now, does that mean we can avoid war by kumbaya, let's all be one? No, that's absurd nonsense. Assholes like Xi Jinping, Chairman Mao, Putin, Stalin, Hitler, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, there are megalomaniacs out there, both in political roles, spiritual roles, corporate roles, who are completely mind-fucked by the adversary to think that they're going to be the master of the world. And these are evil people. And they hide themselves well. I would encourage you, there was last week, while all the fun was going on with the Antipope, there was a gathering, a big conference of technology leaders and political leaders too. And let's see, let me give you some pointers so you can find that. Let's look at my history. Yeah, this all-in conference, which I think this may be the second year that they've done that. But there's some interesting presentations there, and even if you're not interested in what these people are saying, it's very interesting to look at their body language and analyze their character. I think there's a really good introduction to what's the new vice president candidate? J.D. Vance has a good interview there, and Elon Musk. So I would encourage looking for the All-In conference that happened last week, and listening to some of these business leaders, global leaders, and hearing them, especially like this one I was watching here. They're interviewing a couple of people that are deeply enmeshed in this CCP, World Economic Forum, axis of evil that's trying to unify everybody under a dystopian government that's going to first depopulate humanity to, I think their goal is like 500 million, and then put everybody else in these 15-minute cities and regulate them with social credit systems and, basically constant monitoring of everything they do, especially, with the advent of the digital dollar, if you will, or whatever the currency happens to be. I mean, that's basically why their whole thing is falling apart now, because, oops, oh gosh, I should have been showing you this. Okay, yeah, so there's the All-In podcast. Let me show you the other things that I was showing you so you can see. I'm sorry I didn't flip the view. Here is the site you can go to find all that interesting stuff about Xi Jinping being one of the beasts, one of the presidential beasts. And what else? Was there something else that I was going to show there? I think those were the main things. Oh, here's the credit to my friend that gave me this good picture. Okay, let's go back and is there anything else I wanted to show you on the same lines? I think I've covered really pretty much what I wanted to hit today. I think, kind of revisiting the whole Pope Francis thing and all the trouble he's causing in the Catholic Church. Okay, here is the problem with what Francis is doing. Okay, the Catholic Church has a lot of baggage. They are hiding a lot of bad stuff that they need to own up to. All of the persecution of heretics, the crusades, all of the evil that was done in the name of God. Okay, that's part of what they're saying that I agree with. But the solution is not to make this one religion and force it on everybody. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to dumb down religion to basically think, we're all one. This non-duality cult that says, oh, there's no evil. They're just good we don't understand. We've got to go engage with the communists and understand the world from their point of view. Okay, you engage with evil, you ally with evil, you become evil. Pope Francis, you are evil. You are an anti-pope. Dalai Lama, you are evil. You have allied with evil people. Scientologists are evil. Their religion, their cult is pure evil because they are deeply enmeshed in the globalist cult that runs Hollywood, runs Wall Street, runs Washington, and has been doing so by threats and subversion and corruption. This is how that system works. It's very obvious how it works in countries that are less developed, like China. Here is, for instance, how it works, how they work on foreigners that come to China. Okay, I spent over 6 years in China on 2 different occasions, long-term assignments. One was with Hewlett-Packard as one of 5 people that they sent over to start a new R&D center in Shanghai. And then again, about a year after I got back, because my Chinese wife at the time wasn't happy with the job opportunity she was getting in the States. I'm not going to go into a lot more detail than that, but I can tell you I learned a lot during those 2 stages. In the first one, I was very much hoodwinked by the Potemkin facade of China. Wow, these guys are so successful. They're getting things done. They're making their country work, and ours is falling apart. You know, Washington, they're so divided they can't get anything done. And wow, look at this. China's doing good. And I went through my dark period of being part of that fake left. It was easy to do at the time because my main activity outside of working for HP was acting, performing. And I was very into that. I was actually teaching acting at the time. And that's where I made a lot of my contacts in China. And that's where I learned a lot about how Chinese subversion works. Because many of my students were foreigners in China doing other things, trying to make a business or teaching English or whatever, working at an international school, who were getting extra gigs on the side to act like foreign businessmen. They would hire them for about 3,000 RMB a day and send them to factories for like these 3-day boondoggles to wine and dine them, so that, you know, there were 2 sides to this. You were either convincing the factory that you had really important and major customers behind you, because China is, it's not a unified country. The Chinese Communist Party is like a cutthroat mafia organization. The top godfather, Xi, doesn't know what anybody else is doing. They give them reports and they pretend to be doing what the big guy tells them to, but they're off trying to make their own empire. And if they had the moment's opportunity, they would stab Xi in the back and go climb up and be the godfather. And this is how all these globalist organizations are. The World Economic Forum is the same way. Everybody wants to be the next Klaus Schwab and run that nest of vipers, or wants to use their influence to manipulate it. That's your Bill Gates, right? He thinks he's going to be the top dog, get his way, and all these other useful idiots in the World Economic Forum are going to take the fall for what he's doing. All the satanic bullshit he's doing with vaccines and distribution mechanisms for his poisons. You got to open your eyes, people. And that, you know, I mean, the wonderful thing is that they've become so overconfident in recent decades because they thought, oh, we're winning this. We're gonna get to our goal by 2030. You know, first they were saying 2050 was the magic date. Now they moved it up to 2030. And they are talking about moving it up again because they know that they are losing. You see, that the thing that set up what's going on today is the fact that the age of a zodiac, Sir Isaac Newton calculated very accurately at 2160 years. If you multiplied that by 12, that is the 12,000 and some years that it takes for a full precession cycle through all the 12 signs of the zodiac. What Isaac Newton didn't know was that they were just figuring, well, okay, the dating, the timing of the age of Pisces must have been starting with the birth of Jesus. So they date everything from 0 AD. If you had 2160 to 0 AD, you think, oh, okay, we've got till 2160 to get ready for our apocalypse, whatever our apocalypse looks like. And that era of Sir Isaac Newton was one of these three forces of Christianity working within Britain. Okay, so let's talk about the three stools, the three legs of the Trinity of Christianity. Okay, in 135 BC, there was the death of the first Hasmonean or Maccabean priest king that restored, at least in name, the kingdom of Israel, at least the kingdom of Judah. Okay, this is a guy named Simon Thassi. And his family was elevated because obviously they were associated with some very popular religious movement in the era. We don't know much about it, but I believe it is very closely tied to the teacher of righteousness mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, we don't know exactly when this teacher of righteousness lived, but we can kind of deduce it based upon the scholarship that's been done on the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the best scholarships places the time of this teacher of righteousness about 100 to 150 BC. Okay, in fact, that fits with the death exactly of Simon Thassi in 135 BC. Okay, so this teacher of righteousness, they thought he was going to be the Messiah. Okay, and they were preparing, and then when this guy was made the priest king of Judea by Antiochus IV, they thought, wow, our Messiah dreams are coming true. Well, that didn't last for long because Antiochus IV was a really stinky satanic tool. Okay, this was the inheritor of the Antiochid Empire part of the Hellenistic world. Asia Minor, Iraq, Iran, that general area was the realm of the Antiochid dynasty, which had been, I think it started with Seleucid and became kind of the realm of the Antiochids. Okay, that was one of the two most powerful Hellenistic kingdoms that sprung up after Alexander the Great. The other balancing power was the Ptolemy dynasty in Egypt. Okay, so this Antiochus was kind of the next target in line after Rome gobbled up the Macedonian kingdom. What was left of that part of the Hellenistic world was around 135 BC. They were, just about finished gobbling up Illyria and Greece, and had started chipping away on Asia Minor, and actually had client states already, Pergamum, for instance, Rhodes, who were more or less protectorates of Rome. So Antiochus was trying to figure out how he could beat Rome. And at this point, nobody believed they could beat them militarily. It just wasn't going to happen. They had the greatest military in the world, and the old hoplite or phalanx formation and the cavalry of Alexander didn't seem to be working anymore against the Romans, the Roman legion. Okay, so Antiochus had a couple of psyops going here to try to weaken Rome and stop their expansion. Okay, Rome was already pretty closely allied with the Ptolemies in Egypt and was kind of using that influence to gain influence in Israel, in Palestine, you know, the Levant, let's say, that area where Israel and Jordan and Syria are now. One of the ways that Antiochus fought back political warfare, fourth generational warfare, was in setting up this, we've got this kind of messianic leader of the Jews that, they don't like the Romans. Let's stop the Romans expanding in this direction by elevating this guy and giving them their wish, and then I'll be best buddies with, kind of like, it's the same pattern that Darius, Cyrus did with the Persians, of letting the Jews return from captivity and be very friendly disposed towards the Persians. Exact same pattern going on there. And that was to distance them from Egyptians. It's always been a power struggle around the Mediterranean. These different factions that existed going all the way back to the Assyrian age, the age of the Bronze Age kingdoms, the Hittites, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, etc. This is a game that's been going on a long time, and the patterns repeat. Each of these peoples have been chosen at one time by either God or the adversary. Okay, there are multiple factions going on in this game, and they all have their own Messiah stories. All of the mystery religions of, quote, pagan days are based upon different Messiah stories. Some of them are kind of female oriented, okay? So Isis, Osiris, Horus. Isis is the powerful character in that one. Osiris gets cut up in pieces, and it's from the pieces that she reassembles her dead husband so that they can have Osiris, in spite of Set opposing them. Okay, this is a messianic story, but it's a messed up messianic story. It's replacing earlier stories in Egypt that were stories about the king of the gods, who didn't get sacrificed every year and replaced. That is a Lilithian mythology. That is Antichrist mythology. The ones that make the mother the most important, that's Antichrist. That's fundamentally what's wrong with the Catholic Church. Their veneration of Mary is an Antichrist religion hiding within Christianity. Now, don't get me wrong. There have been female saints, and females are very blessed by God. But females are the manifestation of the real divine feminine, the Holy Spirit. Karma, who manifests as an AI that lives within every individual soul. That is their conscience. Let your conscience be your guide. How do you grow a conscience? You grow through experience, reincarnation, making choices, living again, seeing the world from different perspectives. This is the real truth. This is a truth that was in Hinduism, but then Hinduism got invaded by adversary cults. The destroyer of Hinduism is worshipped as either Shiva or Kali. That's not... The destroyers are not creators. They are anti-gods. They are adversaries. They want to destroy. They think, oh, the only way to make things better is to destroy them and build back better. These are evil. And this is what this globalist cult is doing. Francis wants to destroy Catholicism and replace it with this dumbed down version that's acceptable to she. And that's why I called this thing, Gimme that New Age religion, it's good enough for she. That describes the globalist spiritual plot exactly. And this is how it works, because when you try to make everyone happy, who ends up being made happy? The most sick, unprincipled megalomaniac that you're all afraid of, and that's Xi Jinping. He's behind every single one of these proxy wars we've got going all around the world. He pushes Putin around like a wind-up toy, like a Pinocchio puppet. He pushed Biden around like that. Pushed winking, blinking, and nod, the half-asleep State Department we have right now. Okay? These assholes are appeasers. They are so intent on having peace and being all one world government, that they will give in to any pushy moron. She is one of them who will just push whatever they want and not take anything else as an answer. There are the World Economic Forum people like that, like Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, other assholes in this cabal who think that they're the ones that are going to be able to push. And one of the things you'll see in those all-in discussions is there are many world leaders that are realizing what this game is. They are realizing, man, I have been played for a fool. I thought I was doing good with my corporation, and I was actually aiding and abetting Satan. And if you don't believe in Satan, then it really doesn't matter whether you believe in God, because you've got to believe in evil or it's going to bite you in the ass. So part of what the Pope was saying was actually sort of true. All godly religions lead to God. There is a kernel of every religion that is free of satanic influence. There are also satanic influences in there. There are multiple cults within Christianity. So I told you about basically, okay, let's go back to that line of discussions. I'll repeat that. I've talked about it before, but okay, so we had this one line of the Jewish Messiah, the Simon Fassi, who was assassinated, and then his cult sort of continued saying, okay, well, he didn't really say he was the Messiah. He said, that I'm going to lead. I'm going to prepare. A lot of the things that are attributed to Jesus make sense having come out of this first Maccabean priest king. We don't really know his background. It would be interesting to see what his lineage is. I couldn't find anything. Maybe other scholars will be able to dig deeper. There's certainly nothing on Wikipedia. But at any rate, that's the Jewish thread of Christianity. That is the continuation of the religion of the Torah, which had its own satanic influence, by the way. It was not so pure. A lot of the rituals and customs involved had satanic roots. Sacrificing animals at the temple. God doesn't care to smell the smell of burning flesh. God incarnate likes a good steak, but doesn't consider cooking a steak for him, a wonderful act that's gonna make God love you forever. Okay, this is nonsense. This is worship of demigods. And the God of the Old Testament, Yahweh, that doesn't mean God. That literally means I am who I will be. That's what that collection of letters means, literally. And that is because the ancient Hebrews knew that the Messiah was going to keep coming in the form of better and better prophets. And they also knew that there would be anti-prophets. There would be evil ones who came and got the Messiah mission but misused it. They failed. And that's essentially how you tell a Messiah from an anti-Messiah. If you get this dump of spiritual information that comes with being anointed by karma and subsequently anointed by one of the old gods, one of the Elohim, then what you do with it determines what sort of Messiah you're going to be. You can take that information and you can use it for God's side. You can use it respectfully of karma, so you don't control and manipulate and pull people into a cult that you dominate and tell them what to do, when to do, how to do it. Okay, that's an authoritarian cult. That is evil. It doesn't matter if you think you're doing good. If you're pushing people around, if you're bending their minds with programming so that they will do exactly what you say, you are a Satanist. Now, there's two kinds of Satanists. There are Satanists that play the game of Lucifer. They actually want good in the end, but they're willing to do evil to get there. Okay, then there's the Lilithian ones. They actually just want chaos. They want to build their own little empire away from everybody else and kill everybody else. That's the communist dream. Let's all be one except for the people that don't agree with us, and we'll make them our enemies and kill all of them and take all their property. That's spiritual communism. That is the more evil of the two. And this we are all one spiritual communist movement that is behind the woke cult is pure evil. It is trying to destroy our species, not make us all one. That's nonsense. It doesn't work. Not with a species that has the capacity for free thought. People don't like to be under a tyrant that tells them what to think, what to do, how to do it. Maybe some people do. And they're welcome to go join a Lilithian cult. And in the apocalypse, they will be taken elsewhere. They're not welcome on this planet because this is God's planet. And God is the God of free thought, free speech, responsible action. Karmically good actions. Being respectful of others, but doing your own thing. Working out differences so that everybody gets to keep doing what they're doing, not forcing everybody to do what I want. And this is basically a key gauge that sort of defines a more masculine or a more feminine personality. The masculine personality is more of an individualist. They will go alone. They will head out into the wilderness on a vision quest. They will take more risks to pursue what they think is good. The female tends to want to protect and shield. And that sounds really good, but it can lead to smothering love. A smothering love that says, oh, everybody needs to do this and do this and do this, and makes a whole bunch of rules, and that's how we're all going to be nice together, nice to each other, and all get along. Okay? You see, female leadership has a tendency towards hive mind structures, and they are never a good idea. They lead to a very brittle society that doesn't think for itself, that is not well prepared to deal with sudden changes. An earthquake, a volcano, a tsunami, an asteroid hit, a world war. Females do not make good government unless they have a very strong male streak, in which case they do not make good mothers. You can't have it all, ladies. If you feel like you want to be a man, you want to have a career, you want to go out and compete against the boys, go ahead and do it, but don't pretend that you're still a woman. Don't go out and have kids. Don't try to have a family. Don't stick some jerk who follows you around with all the duties of being the woman in the family. That is tyranny. Okay? If you want to run a family with a woman at the head, you're a tyrant. The human family was designed to be led by men. And men, if you're not prepared to lead a family, don't get married. You are not good enough to be a father. This is the sad, sad truth. There are different character types of both males and females. And if we encourage beta males and beat down alpha males, at the same time encouraging alpha females and beating down normal females, what are we going to do? We're going to be altering the behavior of this species. If we do it for long enough, the species will become a hive mind. They will become like the insects, the bees, the ants. Hive mind species are always led by queens. Now, they can be useful. Bees are very useful to this planet. Ants are useful in some cases, but usually not. They invade spaces and they will gang up on whatever is around them and to destroy other hives of ants, destroy everything. I don't know of anybody who loves ants. I don't like seeing them crawling all over my food in the kitchen, getting into everything. I don't like brushing them off my face every night, which is something that happens in the tropics, and it's really hard to avoid. I also don't like using pesticides. So it's it's just something you got to put up with, I guess. Okay, these hive species are brittle. The colony collapse of bees due to human technology is real, and it is endemic to hive mind species. Their behavior patterns depend upon their ability to communicate either through electrical signals or chemical signals, with the Queen. And if you do anything that interrupts that communication with the Queen, they die. Or they will, go into a bad production mode where they generate too many queens, and you have these competing factions of the young queens, instead of the norm in a hive mind is that there's only one queen, and maybe there's some potential princesses, but if they get past a certain age, the entourage will all gang up on them and either drive them out of the hive to start a new colony or kill them. Hive mind species are fake peaceful. As long as everything is going their way, oh, they're so nice and wonderful. The second anybody puts up their hands and says, I don't like this, they will kill them. They will gang up on them and kill them. And this is the kind of cult we have globally with, driven by globalist media. And globalist media is absolutely hand in fist tied to Chinese media. Every story that comes out of state media in China is featured almost without change in Western media, as if that was real journalism. It's insane. No real journalist is allowed to operate in China. People are dying right now being citizen journalists, taking the risk of recording events and posting them on especially external media outside China, but even internally now, sharing things on WeChat, Weibo, at the risk of their lives. And literally, they are rounding up people. The moment they post something that gets detected as, oh, this might be dangerous for the party, 5 minutes later, the PSP will show up and start shaking down the people and lowering their credit score, their social credit, threatening them, even disappearing them, threatening their family members, raping them. That goes on in China. And it's going to be happening in your country too if you don't wise up. It is inevitable because these hive minds, the elite, the queens and their entourages, dehumanize everybody else. And that's exactly what you see when you watch the worst of globalist media, like The View. A bunch of harpy, sick, satanic women ragging on anybody that they don't like and tearing them apart, mercilessly killing their careers, making up shit, framing them. The Me Too movement is largely setting up older white guys to be manipulated or destroyed using evidence of this is how the Chinese Communist Party works. They have whole universities in China that are called normal universities, where they take the smartest and most attractive kids from the poor provinces and they take them away from their families, they put them in dorms, and they raise them and they program them with mostly party doctrine, communist doctrine, CCP doctrine, Han supremacist doctrine, plus foreign languages, and maybe a smattering of knowledge about, a particular industry or something, so they can be conversant enough to get a sales or marketing job. That's what they tend to focus on more than technology, because what they want to do is steal technology or co-opt organizations in the West so that they will serve China. So they do train engineers and scientists, but those are not the highly rewarded members of the Communist Party. It's these influencers, global influencers, and they're falling into the same trap as the West now because okay, if we're going to open things up enough so we can do influence, there are people now trying to use it for their own influence and running afoul of the Chinese Communist Party, doing the same kind of things that, kind of like the OnlyFans, what is it? Oh yeah, OnlyFans bunch are doing in the U.S. and Europe. Basically, okay, well I've got some looks and I can talk a good scam. I'll get people to send me money or buy the shit that I endorse by podcasting, and that's happening in China too. They're shutting it down. They're disappearing people. I mean, literally for the stupidest things, like any possible reference to the Tiananmen Square massacre would get you instantly taken off of social media in China and maybe even disappeared. And there's new you can't do this now things all the time. That's like when people first started calling Xi Jinping Winnie the Pooh because he looked like Winnie the Pooh. All of a sudden, anything about Winnie the Pooh was something that was going to get you censured, blocked, harassed, because it was bad for the dignity of the party. These are evil people. You don't ally with evil. The whole nonsense notion. Okay, so where are the other parts of Christianity you need to be aware of? There's this Jewish Christianity, which was sort of based on the Torah. It's very law and order, a little bit draconian, but, trying to make people behave well. That's the essence of what comes through in core Islam, the Allah Islam, and core rabbinic Judaism, and the Christian, actually more of a reformist Protestant version, although the newer Protestants have gone whacked out in another direction. But if you looked at what the Puritans were after, the Calvinists, the Lutherans, they were saying, hey, this Catholic Church is so corrupt, there's so much evil going on within it, we've got to get back to the law, behaving like we want to get to heaven, not like, it doesn't matter what we do, we're going to get to heaven because we say we love Jesus and Jesus forgives all our sins. And that's the another leg of Christianity. So another psyop that Antiochus IV did, besides this one with Judea, he had, there was a cult within his realm that was basically the cult of the great goddess. This great goddess had different local names because that great goddess was really a demon. And this demon race were the Ashura, or in Hindu tradition, Asuras. This is a demon hive mind, who we also know as succubi and incubi. They are shapeshifters. They are hermaphroditic. They can play male or female roles, and they are tempters, sexual tempters, because that's one of the best ways to corrupt people is through their sexuality, their sexual urges. Another way is through their prejudices. You've got the two poles of what they're trying to divide us into. They're making us more racist. They're making us more sexist than we ever were before. This is a spiritual, satanic psyop. Planned, orchestrated, sold through media propaganda on all sides. And most people that never travel very much or live in another country don't see it, because they don't, they think, oh, well, CNN is one network, right? No, CNN localizes content for each market. If I turn on the TV and I see, or if I tell the internet I'm in Indonesia, where I am, I get CNN Indonesia content, which is highly propagandized to the neo-Muslim agenda. Pro-Palestine, let's return to more draconian Sharia law, at the same time allying ourselves with communism. That's the new Islam. And it's not really Islam, it is destroying the Allah religion and making it an Allat religion. Allat is the demon that was imprisoned inside the Kaaba stone, that black meteorite in the Kaaba that they circumambulate around. The reason for the circumambulation is very similar. There are other similar rites around the world because there are demonic spirits, sometimes good, sometimes evil, that are the result of this great destruction, this great reset 4.5 billion years ago that destroyed the planet that was in the asteroid belt and formed this planet, and possibly gave us our strange moon. There's some doubt about how that happened. That's cropping up now. I won't get into that now. At any rate, this other psyop of Antiochus IV basically took one of these Lilithian cults whose priests were, it was very similar to the cult of Dionysus. If you know anything about the Dionysian mysteries, basically the females would go crazy in their festival, and they would either molest all the males or even cut off their genitals or kill them. This Lilithian Messiah story was basically the queen every year would kill off the king, and a new king would replace him. And this was how matrilinear government, spiritual government, worked. This is how hive minds work. Exactly. And this cult looked to bees and said, oh, the bees have it right. We need to be like the bees. And in fact, they found special bees who gathered special flowers that made psychedelic honey, which happened to have healing properties. And that gave them, oh, see, our religion, we found this wonderful honey, and it does all this magical stuff, so come and worship with us. And, oh, it's not too bad to have to pick a few human sacrifices here and there. What are a few sacrifices for the good of all? Communism. Anyway, one of these priests of the cult of, I can't remember the name of the goddess, but a city of Apamea, which is in not too far from Damascus. I think it's in Syria still. Any rate, he took one of these priests of this goddess, a eunuch named Eunice, and arranged to have him be sold as a slave in Sicily. And this Eunice was a magi, was one of these cult priests who knew a lot of this magic, kind of pseudoscience magic, occult magic. And he's the one who started the first servile revolt against Rome from Sicily. And it was actually pretty successful to the extent that at the height of his rebellion in 135 BC, he crowned himself King Antiochus of Sicily. And he was eventually captured by the Romans, but it's very interesting. There's no really evidence that he ever actually died. He was kept in prison and just kind of disappears one day. This is because this cat was undead, was one who had become so committed to Satan, so committed to the hive mind, that they made him into one of the undead species. And there are real undead. This other thread, there were two subsequent servile rebellions against Rome. The most famous of which was the third one. Everybody knows about Spartacus. And what's the climatic event about Spartacus that we saw in the movie? Well, once they lost, the remaining men of Spartacus, soldiers, they were crucified along the way to Rome. Crucifixion was not a punishment as much as it was developed as a way to make sure undead didn't come back from the dead. So they didn't know who Spartacus was. They crucified everybody that was left to try to make sure that this magical leader wouldn't come back from the dead. This is the tradition that produced the version of Christianity that was popular among the slaves in Rome and became a big problem during the reign of Nero. Tacitus calls them Chretians, not Christians, Chretians, and says that, they were very evil people in the catacombs doing human sacrifices. Well, Christians say, no, that's not the way it was. They were just having communion. I'm sorry to tell you that is exactly what they were doing. They were killing cats and dogs of their masters, or maybe even their children, maybe even the masters themselves when they could get away with it, and they were eating them, gaining power from their flesh. Exactly like Haitians are doing today in the USA. Exactly like some of these other Black Madonna cultists who are coming to the U.S. are doing. Coming from Venezuela, coming from Cuba. All of these places were centers of Black Madonna worship. The most evil segment of Catholicism, which originated, what many people don't know about Columbus. He was not born a Christian. He was a converted, and most of Columbus's crew and the early conquistadors were converted Christians from either Muslim or Jewish background, who were forced to become Christians, and they didn't really fit into the Christian society in Europe, so they joined these expeditions and go persecute and convert the people to this counter cult of the Black Madonna, which is very strong in Mexico too. Okay, the Black Madonna cult is a cult of Lilithian satanic evil. They continue to practice sacrifice, dark magic rituals, under the guise of, I'm just healing. I'm using the same skills and powers that Jesus did. Speaking in tongues. That's satanic possession. Automatic writing. If you're letting some other entity control your body, that's not from God. That's not the way God's team works. That is spiritual abuse. You are using and manipulating other souls and making them do what you want them to do. That's not the way God works, or karma. So that's the second leg of the fake Jesus stool. The third leg comes from Rome itself. When these servile revolts were happening, the Romans still had kind of their own mystery cult, which goes back to when they had kings. And their original republican government had a king that was like the spiritual leader of Rome. And then they had the republic with the consuls and the censors and the tribunes and their balance of power distribution mechanism. When they kicked out the kings was when things started really going bad. They still had, the kings were the Pontifex Maximus, which the Pope still calls himself, doesn't he? Okay, the Pontifex Maximus was supposed to have been from this kingly line. The remaining memory of the real kingly line came through the gens Cornelia. And there was one Pontifex Maximus during this time who was of the rightful priest-king line, Publius Cornelius Scipio Nassicus Serapio. You can go look him up. He's the guy that took the fall for stopping the infiltration of this slave cult into Rome, which was being led by Tiberius Gracchus. If you know anything about Roman history, Tiberius Gracchus is the one who wanted to do land reform. He was like the first really famous communist in history. And he wasn't doing it because he was a good guy. He was doing it because he wanted to gain power by bringing more people into full citizenship. Exactly what the Democrats are doing, what they've been doing for hundreds of years, pulling in immigrants, legally or illegally, and putting them in the big cities where they can be programmed by this machine, the Democratic Party machine, which now is more of a uniparty because there's really no difference between Democrats and Republicans for decades now. Okay, so this third leg was sort of the real Roman bloodline, the Cornelii. If you know anything about cornu, means horn. Same as the shofar in the Bible. It is the root word that led to cornet, which is the smallest kind of trumpet. Corned beef is called cornet here in Indonesia. In other cultures, that led to the names trompe. Trompette is the French word for trumpet. The symbolism of the Bible and the Apocalypse and the Messiah is all around this bloodline. Actually, there are many bloodlines that carry pieces of the Messianic bloodline that has to come back together at the end of days. Because the pattern of spiritual government was destroyed with the destruction of the Atlantean civilization. Okay? Yes, it had become corrupted, but it was not completely corrupt. It was being corrupted the same way that our society, our culture is being corrupted today. It used to be like is described in the Bible of the age of Elyon, living in the temple, physically being in the temple, and being served by the Melchizedek priests, who were the last The Melchizedek line is the line of Archangel Michael. The El Elyon line is the line of God. What's the difference? The Michael line is the better half of Lucifer, God's fighter, the one who takes damage, who willfully sins in the name of God. This is a Luciferian archetype. God is the Prince of Peace. He's the one that keeps peace when he is in the temple, or represented there by a spirit. Those spirits are inhabited by sons of God. They are from the bloodline of God. Look in the Bible. In the age of El Elyon distributed the land across 80 sons of God and said, this is your place to rule. And within their place, they each had a temple. And as the representative of God's bloodline, they were like the priest king, and then they were served by the priests of other religions. That's where the cross comes from. The center of the cross is the Holy of Holies, the place where only the priests of Melchizedek can go to do the special religious rituals. In Rome, this was the priest of Jupiter Optimus Maximus. That was the Roman name for El Elyon, God the Most High, who they knew was reincarnating, was going to be coming back, was going to be adjusting the religion, giving you a new idea of what currently is the perfect city of God, the most perfect one yet. A Messiah that gives us a better way to organize our capitals, exactly what the smarter fathers, founding fathers of the USA knew. This is why some of them pushed so hard to try to get George Washington to become a king and to set up the government more like the Roman Republic. Republican monarchy was what they were shooting for. And this was shot down, and instead we got a fucking president every 4 years who could be bought, who didn't really have any sense of a linkage to the land. And this is a key part of spiritual kingship. Inner earth, middle earth, outer earth, and the linkage to the once and future king. The king is the land. When the land is damaged, the king is damaged and has to recover, has to rebuild the kingdom. King Arthur didn't succeed because King Arthur was not the one. He was a one and made some progress. So did Alexander the Great. So did Caesar even. Augustus. The great emperors each contributed something in the direction of the general finish line. Cultural blocking points. The cultural blocking points can be a culture that's become too brittle, too authoritarian. It can be one that's become too fluid, too libertine. too addicted to entitled sin. We've got all of those things in different measures right now. And there's all sorts of people pushing one direction or another. Okay? Exactly what was predicted for the apocalypse, right? A lot of false prophets. A lot of maybe true prophets that are just very specialized in one area. You know, guys like Elon Musk, I think, is idea that he unless there's some kind of a miracle, something we don't know about, we got to get people off this planet because there's limited resources here, and there are a lot of cataclysmic things that could happen that if we're all your eggs are in one basket and the basket blows up. So, you know, he means well. He doesn't necessarily know what the best way to go about that is. And he's made mistakes. He's allied with communist China because he thought that was the best way to get electric vehicles made, because he thought electric vehicles were the answer. Well, they aren't. In fact, lithium batteries are highly toxic, and to get it, you know, to get it out of the ground, to use it, everything about lithium is dog shit. Okay? We need to get away from lithium technology, period, yesterday. Until we do, EVs are a joke. And it's happening all the time now. If they're manufactured by Chinese standards, they'll blow up on a hot day. That you'll show up and plug into the charger and it'll heat up during charging and it'll blow up. This is happening on a daily basis in China. Nobody wants their fucking EVs. Now the Teslas are made better because they're tested properly and they're designed properly. They don't do that, but you still have a big problem. You're shit out of luck. And there are literally places where people's power stations are going out and they're sitting in line for days in China because they can't move their cars. And there's no power at the powering station. Just in the last week, there's pictures of people lined up, thousands of cars waiting to be charged. Can't go to work today. I couldn't charge my car. They didn't give us any power today. Why? It's not free. Electricity is not free, people. Wake up! Where does electricity come from? Well, you can get some from hydroelectric, but only if the dams are running water through, not in a drought. Water going, you got to shut it down. Too much or too little. The hydroelectric is not the answer. Is nuclear power the answer? Well, it's not too bad if it's safe. The plant at Fukushima was probably the safest nuclear plant on the planet because the Japanese are very careful people. And still you had this huge leak because of this earthquake and tsunami. It's very volatile, dangerous technology, and we haven't gotten fusion working. I think it can be made to work, but it's not been made to work because I think the adversary has been holding back. Okay? And this is the nature of technology. Whoever to work or not work. This is the truth. You can change the laws of physics and chemistry with spiritual energy because this is all a virtual reality. If you have enough mind energy, you can change the rules locally. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of spiritual energy. But you can make a plane malfunction and fall out of the sky. We've seen it happening in recent years. Yeah. This is happening. It's not all terrorists with bombs. It's spirits with spiritual bombs in many cases. They may many of these events were planned as a spiritual psyop. 9/11 was a spiritual psyop. It was planned and pulled in a lot of people into the plan for various reasons. What were some of the precursors of 9/11? The Pentagon was finally going to be audited to try to find out where $1 trillion had gone missing. Every piece of information that was going into that audit was destroyed with the World Trade Center. Fact. The war on drugs was going on, and the CIA was getting funding for their anti-drug efforts. Ran a drug running and human trafficking operation through Arkansas, supplying drugs and kids to the elite. That's how they got in so good with Wall Street and Hollywood and K Street. And that's how Hillary knows so much dirt that she can use to control people. And this is how they work. They get people into their organization by asking for little favors, giving little rewards. They pull them deeper and deeper until they get the goods on them. They'll get them set up with a hooker, male or female. They'll catch they then pull them into a more satanic space where they're involved in child sacrifice, satanic rituals, and get them recorded doing that stuff. And that's how they control people. And that's how they threaten them, get them to do what they want to do. Anybody gets out of the bag, and they send in enforcers and they disappear them, they kill them or their family to shut them up. This has happened many, many times. The Clinton body count is real, and it is definitely linked to satanic forces. So is the British royal family. They are high of Christianity. Okay? They think they're the good guys. They think they are going to have their Messiah come and be like the one world ruler, or this new dynasty, this new bloodline of godfathers or godmothers, God smothers, that's going to run the world and make us all one and give us all peace. They're insane. They're insane megalomaniacs. And they've been at this for so long, and every time they get close, they start fighting each other. And that's when their whole plan just falls apart. Because they're not really on the same side. They're each basically playing the game for themselves, for their own little hive mind of worshipers. All of these little petty godfather, godmother, totalitarian oligarchs who are fighting each other to see who gets to be the one that controls the one world currency. because that's a huge piece of who's going to be coming out on top in all this, dictating to everybody else what they can do, what they can't do, what the laws are, and who is allowed to, who is entitled to break the law. Okay? They all want to be that one. Everybody wants to be God. They're not. They're not the Messiah. The real Messiah really doesn't want the job, but knows. And he's going to find that job. And he's a very good judge of character. Very good at delegating things. Very good at being a leader, not a bleeder. Most of your world leaders, corporate, secular, and spiritual right now, are bleedership, not leadership. They are users and abusers, those that take advantage of others. You see this actually, another area you can look for the patterns of Satanism is in academia. Look at the professors who use and abuse past, that I'm not going to name, but was kind of one of the major reasons I got turned off on continuing studying physics. Even though I had already started a graduate program at Princeton, I dropped out. It wasn't so much because of anybody at Princeton. It was an asshole in the University of Washington who shall remain nameless. And some of his similarly abusive people that I met when I worked at Fermilab. Any rate, you can easy to spot from one professor to another. The professors that have graduate students and postdocs working with them who are actually happy to be working with them, who have a really good working relationship, a good division of power. And then you'll look at others and they're just, you can just feel the evil oozing out of these other organizations. And it's entitled, it's allowed to happen, and at least sometimes these evil organizations are successful because they are empowered by other evil organizations. And especially empires in China, these institutions, putting assets in there so they can steal technology. Budgets are being assigned not based upon real merit, but based upon corruption. Okay? It's all about corruption. And it all ties into the Messianic prophecy. For the trumpet shall sound, and we shall be raised incorruptible. That doesn't mean that we're not going to age and die. That's not what incorruption means, idiot Christians. Doesn't mean you're going to be undead zombies forever. That's not what resurrection is all about. These transhumanists, these eugenicists, these ones who want to extend human life forever, they are satanic tools. They want to make humanity into a supermensch race of undead zombies served by mind-controlled loonies who think that they're doing good by serving these assholes. It's very dystopian. It's not going to happen. It's what made the right conditions for a Messiah to be born. And the real Messiah is not like anybody you thought the Messiah was going to be. He's not going to go that was from this other tradition of the Dionysiac Jesus, the slave cult that got power from sex and death magic. Sex and death magic is evil. Tantra, occult, alchemy. If you're trying to change the rules, if you're trying to use arcane, ancient knowledge that you don't really understand and you don't know what the demonic linkage is, you are evil. You're irresponsible. Technology has to be earned and used. If you're trying to copy somebody else's idea, put it into production, this is satanic. This is sin. China is the land of sin. That's why the prefix for China is sin. Sinophilia means the love of sin. This is the land that sin originated in. Actually, the land of sin was the Golden Triangle. That is the most evil area on the planet. You basically got hugely sinful people thinking they're all noble because we're Buddhist, we're communist, we're Hindu. There's no evil. We're just. And that land of sin is where the Sumerians, which Shinar, the Hebrew letter Shin, comes from. This is the influence of sin infiltrating humanity from its center. The Eastern enclave of spirituality has always been the land of sin. The first civilization, the Lemurian civilization, was established by Lilithian Elohim. The first line of the Bible, Elohim is a I don't know why they're using a plural, but it's a singular pronoun, so it must just mean God. That's the argument people used for that translation. No, it means gods. If it's with a singular pronoun, it means a hive mind. They think with one mind. This is a Lilithian entity, a hermaphrodite entity. This species that did the first upgrade on humanity were shapeshifters who could mate with any species. They could change their form and mate with any species. That's how many of the advanced species on this planet originated. They were upgrades. Scientists, it cannot possibly happen that way. DNA is a programming language. It was a programming language developed by gods. The periodic table is a programming language. It was developed by gods.
Sent him to die.
Not one God.
Take it in.
It was
On the cross.
a step in the process of creation. God is not so stupid as to try to do everything himself. The first things he created
Christ shall come.
were assistants,
With shout of acclamation.
programs,
Take me home.
AI. From how programmed so many people are in this culture now.
Thou art.
Cradle to grave, they see whatever nonsense mainstream media tells them, and oh, must be true. I hear it every single day. That is a cult, my friends. That does not come from God. Godly government is not programming. It is structure. There are laws, but there is not the enforcement of that law. Those laws are not draconian. In other words, if you don't like living in the city of God, fine, we'll send you somewhere else. Worship God. You're not going to be forced to not be Catholic, to not be Muslim. You will be informed of the dangers of those religions, because those religions are an approximation of the truth. The truth is that Allah is not God. Jesus is not God. Mother Mary is not God. Deal with it. None of the entities you worship, that you make sacrifices to, that you perform rituals for, you beg for favors, those aren't God. That's not the way God works. At least not for most. God has his favorites. He's got children. Do them a favor. This is how anointment happens. Just the interest of one of the gods is how you become anointed by that god. Now, the good gods just watch over you and give you a little helpful hint here and there. A little bit of assistance in a pinch. The evil ones kind of want to control you, want to direct you, want to take over your life, even to the extent of demonic possession. Okay? If you turn over yourself to the entity you call Jesus, Jesus, just show me what to do, lead me to wherever you want. This is demonic possession. You're worshiping a demon version of God. It's moving you further away from God. If you're the same way with many people are with, Mother Mary, tell me what to do. Give me a vision. That's a demon. That's not the Holy Spirit. You ask the Holy Spirit, and it's kind of like an interchange. Karma, the Holy Spirit, which lives in you as your conscience, will broadcast your prayer. And if your karma resonates with one of the gods, and there are many, many, many gods, call them saints if you want to, call them angels, archangels, if there's one listening to you, it may come and help you. If that God is a good guy, it will help you in a constructive manner that doesn't make you dependent, doesn't create an addiction to that God. If they are an evil one, they will try to control you and build up this karmic attachment, so you think, I can't possibly live without Jesus in my heart. And this is another way you can tell if you are possessed by a dark god, is if you feel like you have this heart connection. The heart, there's a little brain in your heart. Many people don't know that. It's in the middle of the four chambers of your heart. Find in and collection of cells that is an organ. That is a little subsoul within your body. Okay, the heart brain is the easiest to program. It can be programmed with emotion. Strong emotions, love, hate, are basically the two widest poles of strong emotion. And this is how dark gods control people, through the heart. That's not the good guys working on your heart, pulling on your heartstrings. Souls in the material world are material gods. This is what the Bible warned you about, is icons. It's not just art, it's celebrities. Celebrity art that you worship is a kind of God, but it's a material God. It is a God of this universe, this world. It ties you down to this universe. And if you're tied to this universe doesn't have a heaven. This is Lucifer's universe, and if you worship Lucifer, you're in heaven already. And that's basically what materialist science is all about. That's atheism. Effectively. Like things just fine. I just wish I could live forever. You're a Luciferian. You don't want to go to heaven. You don't want to meet the real God. You're happy with the materialist gods that you got. See? Okay, I think I've exhausted this subject. I hope it was useful to you, maybe got your wheels turning a little bit and helped you to understand who the real adversaries are out there today. I don't want to depress you. In fact, I want to keep the message upbeat, because the stuff that they're doing right now is proof that they're on the run. More and more they are realizing, oh shit, we chose our grail poorly. We chose our ark poorly. We're going to have you were. At any rate, like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever. Tune in next time to the Omnis Hour with Rob Trump. Till then, happy karma.